In today's gospel, Jesus asks two questions. I always pay attention when Jesus asks questions. First question is this: children, have you caught anything to eat? Now, the question needs some background, because we have the disciples after the resurrection, but before that had really sunk in, and they really knew what was going on. So it's after the death and crucifixion and death of Jesus, and so they're back in their town, and they're sitting around, and it's like, let's go fishing. Oh, he didn't say let's. He says, I'm going fishing. And it's kind of like saying, well, I am going to go back to do what I want to do the way I used to do it because it's comfortable for me. I'm going fishing. I'm going back to my former life. And all the ones who were with him says, and we'll do the same. We'll go with you. And isn't that how it is sometimes? It's like, well, we kind of fall into old ways that we used to do things. Maybe we've tried out a few new ways, and things have actually worked out a little bit better. But what's happened is that under some kind of a stress or things that are going on, struggles, we go back to our old ways. Anybody ever done that? I remember one time, I won't use names and political parties here, but I heard this with my own ears. Two men were running for the United States Senate. One, we'll call him person A, candidate A, had said something particularly nasty about his opponent, candidate B. So, an interviewer was interviewing candidate A and said, what you said was pretty nasty about that, your opponent. And he said, well, he started it. Grown man, He started it. And he said something to me, so I just felt I needed to come back to him. He said, yeah, but what you said was so much over the top from what he said. And then the United States person running for United States Senator said this, and I heard it with my own ears. He says, if you throw a stone at me, I will throw a boulder at you. Turn the other cheek might work in church, but it doesn't work in the real world. Right? Wrong. But that's an example. I'm going to do it my way. Jesus got some nice ideas, but it doesn't work in the real world. I'm going back the way I did before. I'm going fishing my way. And we can all do that. In fact, I think we all do when we fall back into sinful kinds of things we've done in the past, looking for something that we're not going to find in doing things other than the way Jesus does it. So he asks the question. Now we got the background. He asks the question, have you caught anything to eat? After fishing in the dark at night, they say, no, we've come up with nothing. So he says, try it my way. Throw your nets on the other side. And they came up with so much fish it almost pulled their boats down. Try it Jesus' way. So, that's one indication for us that we need to keep looking at Jesus and what he says and trying things his way, because his question is pretty much like saying, how's the other way working out for you? Is it bringing you to where you want to be? I suspect we'd all say, no. It's bringing me to the opposite place I want to be. Now contrast that picture of the disciples in that gospel reading where they're going to do it their way to the picture we get later on in the Acts of the Apostles in that first reading, where they're preaching about Jesus and they said, don't do that anymore. And they look at him and saying, we learned our lesson. We're going to listen to God, not to man or woman, whenever they don't square with what God says. We've decided, we've learned that we're going to do it God's way. And he feeds us in his way. That's the first question. Second question is the one that Jesus poses to Peter, where he says, do you love me? Now, I think what's important to underline here is questions he did not ask, but could well have asked. He could well have said, Peter, you said you wouldn't deny me, but you did 3 times. Why did you do that? He didn't ask that question. He also did not ask, are you sorry? Didn't ask that one. He also did not say, how can I trust you anymore? Didn't say that either. What he did say is, do you love me? In the here and the now. Regardless what has gone on in the past, do you love me in the here and the now? And if you say, yes, I do, then you will know forgiveness. I'm not going to hold the past against you. I want to know today, do you love me? And he asks him that 3 times. And Peter says, yes, I do. And then Jesus says, feed my lambs, feed my sheep. In other words, he says to us, I've already shown you my love for you, and now you say you love me and will follow me. So feed my lambs the way I fed them. Forgive them. Show them compassion. Show them understanding. Show them charity. Work for them. Reach out to them. Do what I did. Feed my lambs. Feed my sheep. And instead of just kind of making this general, I might ask this question. How can each one of us in the next few days feed one of God's lambs? How can we reach out to one of God's sheep in ways that we don't do already? Because Jesus is basically saying, to say that we love God is to say that we love God's people and that we will love God's people the way that Jesus did. And so the question that he posed to Peter, he poses to each of us. Imagine him saying it from the cross. Do you love me? Whatever your answer is, if it's yes, he says, then feed my lambs. Feed my sheep like I do. And he says to us also what he said to Peter. Follow me. Follow my way here on earth to be the loving presence of God.